Morning, Chantel. I know you're muted, so that's fine. Oh my goodness, it's like I have coffee grounds all over my coffee cup. I wonder how many coffee grounds are in my coffee. Hey, hey, stop. Oh, yeah, such a good boy. Okay, I've sent a note to everybody, so hopefully they are on their way. Oh, hey, buddy, hold on. Can't text and hold you squiggling at the same time, so you're gonna have to get down. Okay. Hey, stop. Just a minute. He is sweet, but he's being a little bit more like a puppy this week. You know, a little crazy. Yes, he is. Okay. Yeah, that's Chantel. She's getting ready. I don't know where everybody else is. I wonder if they forgot. Hey, no, you can't have this. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to head up and ski. Who knows how long that will last since I haven't skied much. And you're in the nice warm weather. Okay, enough. Why don't you go eat your breakfast? Huh? Why don't you go eat your breakfast? Yeah, you just want some attention. There's Shireen.
Hello, hello.
Good morning. You look pretty.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to get ready in the morning.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love it.
and see
It
if
makes
it
it feel different, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was actually thinking about it a little bit with our team because we're doing so much remote working, and I know they're like in their PJs or sweatpants or so I'm contemplating more time in the office because I do just think that
Yeah.
getting up, getting ready, getting dressed, getting your makeup on if you wear makeup and
And I think too, Shireen, you just showing up that way, even
correct.
a different standard, right? And
Yeah.
then you can even say, like, I wouldn't put it in like the persecutor modality, right? Of you should dress up, but oh my gosh, I can't believe how much better I feel when I dress up and how much more
Mhm.
energy I have, you know, like
Also, when they
experience.
do come to the office, people do like Tabitha. I mean,
Yeah.
on rare occasion, they'll come in like sweats or whatever. But
Yeah.
generally, if people are coming to the office, they've showered, they've gotten ready, they look cute,
Yeah.
just naturally, I think they feel they should.
I totally get it.
And then even thinking about our housekeeping team, I'm back on like, what would the uniform be? What would that, just everybody
Mhm.
feeling tight.
Yeah. Well, I don't want people to feel tight.
Well, like put together, like
I knew what you meant, but I'm like, wait, we need to change that word because we don't want to be all tight. We want to
no,
be
I don't
okay.
want to be tight.
But
Like it's like I got my shit together. That's the vibe I want, like
I got my shit together and bring me the money.
yeah.
Show me the money, right? Wasn't that the quote from the movie?
Show me the money. Yep.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, I'm not sure where Shauna and Joni are,
I'm
but
gonna grab a breakfast bar real quick because I haven't
go
had
for it. Go for it. Chantel was just getting set up. So, yeah, I think you know I'm going skiing and you're going to have to be in the kennel for a few hours. I know it.
He's so funny because when he got his haircut, he looked like a puppy again, like a much tinier dog again.
Yes, he does. And then as his hair starts to grow out, he looks 20 pounds heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got probably 5 pounds of hair.
My friend has a Bernedoodle too. I'm always surprised, like when you touch him, how far I go into like before I hit his body when
That's
he's
why I had to train him not to get in the shower with me because my shower is a walk-in shower. And
uh-huh.
we lived in one of the cabins here while they were building our house. And my son laughed because, he's like 6'1", 220. So he's not a small guy. And now he's bigger than that. But when he lived with us and the shower was so tiny, he's like, Mom, I feel like Elf. And no matter which way I turn, my ass hits the tile. Right? Like, so when we moved in, we built this two-headed long shower.
Hmm.
Like it goes from the wall here to the end of my kitchen counter. Like it's big. And
Yeah.
now I wish I would have put a bathtub in, which is one shower head, but I think it was because we lived in that house, so it's a walk-in, it doesn't have a bathtub upstairs.
Hmm.
And so he was trying to get in the shower with me because as a puppy, he was so anxious not being right, like being able to
Yeah.
see. So then I started showering with the shower curtain open. I'm like, oh, that's not a pleasant sight to see in the mirror, right? Like, I kind of want to see myself showering. And so I taught him not to get in the shower because his hair like
Hmm.
holds so much water. Like it would take
Suck it up.
beach towels to get him
Oh my
dry.
goodness. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
And if they run around before you gotten them dry, you got all that water throughout your house.
but yeah, I bought those muddy mats.
Mm.
And they really do work. And actually, I put one outside my shower because I thought if he does crawl in and get out, even his paws like hold a ton of
Hmm.
water. And I'm half tempted to suggest them to everybody for their showers and bathtubs because they absorb so much water.
Yeah.
And they're cool because like he peed on one of them by the front door when he was a puppy, and you just throw them in the wash and they wash up. Like
Mm.
I'm half tempted to order some like that. I know Target has some like that for my Airbnb because they're just so.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, enough about me. So,
It was
Chantel,
about Maverick. It wasn't about you.
yes, that's true. It's about little me. So, I'm going to open this up because this is a coaching call and it is unfortunately mixed feelings here. Well, not even mixed feelings, just sad actually that Shauna and I were talking about that about like when she had said she wasn't sure why she got so emotional. And I'm like, because it's kind of a little grieving process, right? Like,
Hmm.
my hope is that we keep the WhatsApp going, right? Like, the first group has still got a WhatsApp going. And at the beginning, they were communicating a lot more. Now it's probably once a quarter, or somebody will throw a picture out there or a quote or whatever, too. But you just know it's there if you need,
Hmm.
right? Which I think is really valuable. Um, and then, if you guys decided you wanted to meet on your own and, set up something, you could do that too. Um, so I want to open it up to what you all need this morning because the coaching call is not a teaching call. It's more of what do you need? What are you facing? What's in your heart? Like, how's your heart today?
Mm.
How's your mind? How's your heart? How's your body? How's your soul?
How's your location, Chantal? I don't even know where you are.
Yeah, I'm in I have my camera off because I don't know that the internet will be great, but I'm quartzite, which is really cool looking. Yeah, I don't know if you can see.
Oh,
Oh my
cool.
God, it's so beautiful.
Looks like you're on the moon.
It's very good. Um, yeah, I have something that I have
Okay.
on my mind and in my heart.
What's that?
Um, so Vaughn will be heading back to Calgary.
Oh, he is
Uh,
trying to make a decision. Is he staying
yeah,
with his parents?
yeah, he's not going to stay with my parents. He's going to stay with a friend. Um, and his mom is totally fine with it until we get back in May for the THP group. And he leaves tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. I just have mixed feelings. You know, he hasn't like he's participated in some things, and then other times he's just wanted to sleep all day. And so he's like, oh, I miss Amaya, and I don't want to be on this trip. And
He
we
doesn't.
sorted it all out. He doesn't want to be on the trip. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure your
it's
mom hurt. How old is he?
yeah. He's gonna be 17 in May.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. And I remember too, because you're at that age, I remember like he's homeschooled, so it's a slightly different situation. But I remember when Zach was a senior in high school, it was like he was never home. And I'm like, oh, this is, the universe's way of prepping me for not having him around a lot. But it's that like, I don't know. I remember, and I've said this so many times, that from the moment I gave birth, it's such a lesson in letting go, parent.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
my heart is with you because there are no, for me, like, I don't think there's any words that comfort other than the fact that it's a natural progression, but it's still hard, right? Because it's a loss. Your relationship is changing because he's starting to turn into more of an adult, right? Like, and he's making more independent choices and more, and location wise, you're even going to be, it's like he's going off to college
hmm,
or university.
hmm.
Yeah. And
What
so
in school is like, when would he be going to college? Next year or 2 years?
Well, because of the different things that have occurred over the last year, he's kind of a year behind, so he
Okay.
wouldn't be able to go next year. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so 2 years. Okay.
Hmm.
but it's
Yeah.
definitely a little like on your mama's heart, right? When that happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell myself, and I know it's just a perspective, it's like I tell myself if he had his, to use Shireen's language, his shit together, I would be like much more at ease. Um, but it's not the case, but maybe he will, maybe once he's separate from us, he will realize that he can't just sleep all day and not get his stuff done because he needs to, I don't know, he needs to show up or else there'll be natural consequences.
Yeah. And
Well,
so, Chantel, I might ask, do you believe the universe is always for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you're like, yeah, okay.
yeah, but I
It's
don't want this one.
And, and the reason I asked that is just that, right? Like I had a hit as right before you said it that, maybe like I look at if the universe is always for you, maybe like this is his journey, right? Like he needs
yeah,
this ability to be separated from the family for a while to feel like he can do things on his own. And there's going to be some bumps. Like he's going to sleep
yeah,
first, right? Because he thinks he can.
yeah,
And there will be things that happen. And but like what's coming to me is as you think about your parenting, and you're such a good mom, Chantel. So I want you to know that. Like sometimes when we go through these things, we question, right? Or I have
Mhm.
in my past.
Oh
And
yeah,
you're such a good mom. Like, and you and John, how you are today, like it's so, we all do things to mess up our kids. Don't get me wrong. I tell my best friend who's a counselor, you too, job security, right? But
right.
but it's like his next journey, like as a parent, keep keep thinking, right? Because what I hear in your mind is he's going to screw this up, right? Like
Yeah,
some
there's a part
verbiage.
of me that worries about that for sure. There's a part of me
And
that is taking in what you're saying too.
And so
Hmm.
and I'm
part of
also,
what, hold on just a second, Shereen, if you would. So part of where I'm going with this is if you can reconcile that and
Yeah.
look at him as whole and
Yes.
really use the verbiage and the parenting know-how to continue to lift him up. I remember when my son left for college, I said to him, I said, I have prayed every day for you. And my prayer
Hmm.
is now changed because when you go to college, everybody makes stupid decisions at different points in time. My prayer now is that you don't have any life altering decisions, right? Like that are life altering for you.
in a negative way.
Right.
Yeah.
And so even
Yeah.
give him permission to say, you know what, bud, you might struggle a little bit at the beginning, and that's okay. That's part of your journey. Or, but like really lifting him up, but seeing him as whole will
Mhm.
shift the way you talk to him and the vibrational energy, because if he thinks you're expecting him to fail,
Yeah.
reading that from your energy, then, you know, that sends a different message to him versus, you know what, bud, you got this. I trust
Yeah.
you got this. You've got a good head on your shoulders. I'm proud of you. You're going to figure this out. And I'm here to support you. Sorry, Shireen, go ahead. I just had to finish.
Yeah, and I'm also hearing a little bit, and Chantel, check me, a little bit of sadness over this journey. I wonder if in your mind was to bring everybody together, and this feels like perhaps separating the family in a way that you
Mm.
are not really wanting.
Yeah, I think
Are you okay?
yeah, I'm okay. I just having emotions.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it was like just hoping to have him see his own beauty in the beauty of the world because he hates himself so much all the time. Like he's just so hard on himself. And I was just hoping through this trip that he might see some magic and turn that inwards. And I don't know, maybe he has in small ways. So I
Yeah.
think I was just like in a way to your point, Debbie, I was like, okay, this is my last shot to like
Yeah.
to help him out, and maybe I feel like I've kind of failed,
Well, and I
but
would,
I don't fully believe that.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think letting him go is another,
yeah,
right? Like, I don't think we're ever done with shots. Like mine's 32 and I still am like throwing shots, right? Like, and
yeah,
so I think some in your mind too, you're thinking, this relationship's going to die because this is my last shot, right? Like,
yeah.
but it is hard when you see your child not appreciate who he is. And I would say, Chantel, you have many tools. Um, and not that, because it's not really, this is where I struggle, right? Because it's not our job to save our kids, but yet that mothering instinct, right, is so strong to protect.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I don't know. And so then I would just say too, think about making sure that you have some plans in place for yourself to make sure you feel confident while he's in this, whether it's a call with the parents, whether it's a call with him every day for 5 minutes, whatever it is, right?
Mhm.
So you feel like you have a pulse on him. Because it is scary when someone doesn't care, and I have a friend, and actually a group that I'm in, and I don't know how you feel about this as a counselor, you'll have to tell me, that said to her son, and was instructed to do this by a counselor, that because he had threatened his life numerous times, and
Yeah.
you know what, buddy? Here's my request. If you decide to harm yourself, no leaving voicemails, no texting. You have to get in touch with me and have a conversation with me to say goodbye.
Mm,
And he has now since told her that stopped him so many times because he didn't want to have to call his mom to say goodbye. Now, take that with a grain of salt,
Mhm.
right? But have something set up for you that you feel comfortable enough that you're checking in and getting a good pulse of where he's at as well. And
yeah.
that pulse for you is also about how you can lift him up without him feeling like it's fake, right? Because you don't want to just be like, you would never Chantel cheerleader, right? But like,
Yeah.
meaning the woohoo pom poms, but like making sure he feels, some kind of authenticity, which you are
Mm,
authenticity in a nutshell. So
For
yeah.
some reason, this is popping up for me. A very dear friend of mine who literally just lives up the hill from me. And we don't get together that often anymore, just life and things like that. And so she just popped in. She walked by my house and she's like, "Are you home?" And I was like, "Sure, come on in." And she has a 21-year-old autistic son, on the spectrum, not nonverbal, but pretty autistic, not functioning really. And an adopted daughter from Africa that struggles with a whole bunch of stuff. And all their plumbing went out in their house. Like they had to dig up all the plumbing out from under their house, which bathrooms are really important to both their children and everything functioning. They rented an Airbnb for a month. They moved over there. The plumbing's not functioning there. Like the toilet was literally left with like a shit in the primary toilet. No one flushed it, cleaned it, it was clogged. The shower never got working during their stay. And my friend suffers from irritable bowel syndrome. So she's like, I'll be constipated for days and then I can't leave the bathroom for a day, you know? So like plumbing's important. So she was like, WTF, like this is all like falling apart. But then the Airbnb was a blessing in a way. It was a much smaller house and their family kind of calmed down, and like some of the dynamics, even with their dog and their kids and everything, kind of calmed down. Then they go back to their home because their plumbing's fixed. And her daughter breaks out, like just all her trauma and stuff starts coming back. She's like, this house brings it on. So she rents 2 more weeks at the rental to support her daughter. And her 21-year-old autistic kid is like, I'm not going. And so she's got this dilemma, like, which child do I pick? So she ends up going with her daughter over to the rental and leaves her autistic son by himself for 5 days in their home, which she has never done, and convinced he would light the house on fire, you know, do all these different things. The first night she did go at 11 p.m. to go pick him back up, and like, you have to come stay at the rental, and she's just bawling and crying. And one of the things of autism is emotions don't land the same way. But he was totally consoling her, like, mom, you're going to be okay. You're just having empty nest syndrome, you know, like. And so long story short, she was like, it was that parting of ways and that separation was the best thing ever, because it showed her Jackson can do a lot on his own. It allowed him to show some empathy for her, which he's never been able to do. So she's like, oh my gosh, he's got that in him. And so I wonder, Chantel, if it shows up as like not awesome, which I can fully see why it would look that way, but if there's some moment in there that just brings a breakthrough
Yeah.
that's not possible
Yeah.
with the current dynamics.
Yeah.
So I hope that for you. But
How's all
Renee had to like freaking like fall apart first.
Yeah. Yeah.
and what I love is you're feeling the feels, Chantel, and that's appropriate, right? And so how is all of this, because we just like bubbled a bunch of stuff at you, both Shireen and I did. Like, how is all that landing? Where I'm gonna allow you to speak and process some of that.
Yeah. Um, like like little gifts of awareness. And yeah, just sharing as you were telling your story, I was listening and also thinking about yesterday, my the 3 clients I saw, there was this thematic thing of them processing change and loss.
Right.
And I said to John, and I didn't even recognize it in myself. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like all 3 clients were like going through like totally different situations, but the same. And he's
Mm.
like, yeah, that's interesting. But then this morning, as you're telling this story of your friend, I was like, shit. Yes, okay, that's my lesson to learn.
Mhm.
Is I don't know, just like that. Yeah, there's change and there's loss to this, but it's also potentially an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, and I sent my client just a very
Yeah.
short, like Taoist story of it's a farmer who loses his horse, and anyways, long story short, this horse runs away, and then his neighbors are like, "Oh, terrible," and he's like, "Maybe so, maybe not." And then I guess the son, I don't know, there's just like a few things that happen, and it's like they're like, "Oh, what good luck," and he's like, "Yeah, maybe so, maybe not." Um, and so, yeah, I guess the lesson from this, or what I'm taking from this, is that this is a maybe so, maybe not. Like it, it can be something really beautiful, and I can choose how to respond in this, and I can choose how to show up, and just trust that it's going to be okay. And maybe this is something potentially really great for Vaughn and for us as a family.
And
And your relationship with each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
and the thing that is popping into my head, so Joni would do this work with me, like, what if it's all about you? So like your focus is a lot on Vaughn,
Hmm.
and as a mom, completely get that. And then what if this is all about you and not
Yeah.
him at all? And what
Yeah.
would that look like?
Yeah. Like, yeah, what's my lesson in this?
Yeah.
Yeah, or
What
growth
does
or
this
change,
show me? Hmm.
or time to lean into yourself, or
Well, and even with I forget your younger son's name. What's his name?
Vanek.
Yeah, like even with Zanuck, right? It's an opportunity, because it's different when you have two children in the dynamic and then you just have one. And sometimes it's hard, I think, for the younger person because they're rarely alone,
Mhm.
right? And um, so this also has an opportunity for you guys with Zanuck to build a stronger foundation than you already have, right?
Yeah, and there's no doubt that he's been impacted by some of the things. Like sometimes his brother can be pretty mean to him, or um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and in my story, Renee didn't reveal all of her daughter's issues because her daughter's quite private. But she did say one of the things that when they came back into the house, she was like, I have to get out of this house. It's a shrine to Jackson. And with autism, they've tried so hard to lift him up and highlight
Mm,
the typical things he can do, which he is quite artistic and stuff like that. Um, but that was really telling to Renee,
yeah.
so she is
It's
looking
yeah.
forward to building a stronger relationship with her daughter.
Yeah.
Mm,
So how's your heart now, Chantal? And like, hey, good morning, Shauna. We're kind of talking about Chantal Vaughn they've decided he's going to go back to Calgary for a little while. And so there's that stepping stone of the more letting go, right? And kind of the fear with that. But when you think about Chantal looking at him as whole, kind of also
mhm.
what's your growth edge in this? And, like, and it's so hard sometimes, but if we believe the universe is always for us and that we're surrounded by miracles, if you can focus
Yeah.
on the miracles and feel the feels, right? Like that's the balance of the polarity.
Hmm.
Because when you don't feel the feels, that's when it comes out in different ways. That's when I'm yelling at people driving and they can't hear me, right? Like, and so feeling the feels is really important, but then also keeping the focus on what are all the miracles that are happening around this, right? Like,
Hmm.
I would much rather have my mom here physically, but then looking at all of the kids that got scholarships from a walk that, from what the sorority put together for a fundraiser and like all the things that I see in my son that she influenced and, like seeing those things, it doesn't mean that things that hurt our heart aren't going to happen,
Hmm.
but it allows us to see it through a different lens. So when you like, how's your heart now? Like tell us a
Yeah,
little
it
thoughts.
just feels actually feels quite a bit lighter.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. I just I feel like maybe a little bit of a blinder has been removed to allow me to see a different perspective, a
Yeah. And
wider perspective.
good. And I would say too, make sure because just because next Tuesday is our last call doesn't mean that we're not all here to support each other.
Hmm.
So keep us updated and don't hesitate to reach out, like we were holding space for someone in the other mastermind an hour ago with a conversation she was getting ready to have and there is power in this connectivity, right? This divine oneness and sending energy and like love and, just there's power in that. And so I don't
Mhm.
like, I want you to feel open to like that WhatsApp will stay open as long as people stay in it, right? Like, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm the last one in it, so keep that and keep us updated. And like, I don't want you to feel like you're on your own, right? Like you and John are together. I don't want it that way, but like we're here for you is where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Like truly, thank you. Because your words and your energy and holding space was very, very helpful this morning.
Do you feel like, is there anything else that you need for closure with that?
Mm. No, I wrote down some words, did a pretty little doodle here, my little visual for the day.
Great.
As a reminder. Yeah, no, I'm definitely feeling better. It
Good.
may not sound like it because I'm a little bit sleepy. I'm not used to these early mornings. Like I don't
Right?
know, but it's okay. I have today and tomorrow, and then no more early mornings for a little bit. So
Oh, that's right, because you're in a different time zone than what you typically are too. So it's earlier. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's not even. I mean, it's not even early. It's point of relativity. But it's just like, oh, I'm not used to getting up and talking or being on this early.
I understand that. I know. I was like, do I do my hair for this call before I put my helmet on, or do I just put it behind my ears and know that you guys don't care? Thank you,
Are you
Chantal,
going
The
skiing?
latter.
for being vulnerable and sharing. And yes, I am going skiing. I actually have a client that I'm meeting up there for lunch, and then we have a client meeting this afternoon. So
Nice.
he's one that I meet every quarter with versus every month because it takes a couple hours to like get into
Mm.
it. So yeah. So Shireen or Shauna, anything? Shauna, could you update us on what happened with the whole developer thing with the
Oh, yeah.
house that wasn't like what happened? Like I know kind of sort of it was working out, but like is that all like signed, sealed, and delivered and done now?
It's all done. I don't remember what all I told you in the end of that, but we had it all figured out. And honestly, the people who bought that house I mean, Tony and John offered to carry a contract for them at significantly lower interest, $200 a month lower payments
Mm.
in 2 or 3 years, have them refinance it, pay all the closing costs, and give them 10 grand when they do it.
Wow.
And they just kept dragging their feet. Like they were going to somehow get that property with that house on it. And finally, I think I've told you this, but they're both ex-cons.
Mhm.
Oh,
And Tony's a little more refined. John still has that thug mentality to a certain extent, and he knows the buyers. And so he just sent them this message that was like, I mean, it's like nothing I've ever read because it's not my life. Um, but it's like, it started out like, the guy's name is Pa. And so he's like, hey, Pa, this is Lil
W?
John, Lil John. Yo, bro, what's up? Can't believe you're doing this. I mean, it was just like Jessica could do that so much better than me, um, but it was just like, I can't believe you're gonna fuck your whole life up over this, and you have until 5 o'clock today to figure this shit out, or this deal's off the table, and you'll be hearing from our attorney next. And I was like, dude, that's a lot. And apparently it was the language the guy needed to hear because he's the same. And so within 30 minutes, we had the paperwork that we needed. And
The
so,
universe is always for you.
yep, yep. Well, it just took him. I mean, I kept telling him, John, no, we got to handle this like business people. We're professionals now, buddy. You know? And finally he was like, had it up to here. And he just unleashed on him. And the guy did what we needed him to do. And within like 2 days, it was finished. So
Isn't
all
it
done.
interesting how people respond? You know, like I was having this conversation with another client that's working on her AR and how she was nervous about calling this guy because he owed like $15,000 and she was willing to write off a few grand if he just paid in full.
Mhm.
Right? And by doing that, all of a sudden, magically, he finds the money. Right. And it's so
Mm.
interesting how, like, when we ask for what we want, and in this case, it's not the same way that you would have, but it's interesting how he's in this deal with you and it needed that type of verbiage in order for them to make any kind of, but I always think about that in this, like when we hold our expectation, well, and I struggle with the word expectation, right? Because I don't love that word, but like when we hold like what we desire and we state what we desire, like it happens. Like people find it, right? Like when it comes to money, I think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and why would they not? I mean, I think they just had somebody in the background telling them, oh, you're going to you're going to end up with this house. They built a house on your property that they never should have built. And it was the opposite.
Yeah.
And it also could have been just they weren't prioritizing it, and then when it was like, oh shit, it's gonna go away, then to Debbie's point,
Right.
like all of a sudden
Yeah.
these people
Well,
found the money when, there was an
yeah, that
opportunity
wasn't
for
it.
them.
I mean, that wasn't the issue. They used to be our renters. I didn't know that
Oh, that's
because it
right.
was in that new duplex. And their brother lives next door and or cousin or I don't know what. That's odd. And they got some mail delivered to our duplex. And so Randy took it over to Moni. And Moni was like, oh man, did you hear what happened? And he's like, I told him, don't ever sign anything. That's your house and they shouldn't have built it. And I'm like, oh God. So that's what was going on. And Randy said, I just stood there and smiled at him like I didn't know a thing. Anyway, yeah, it's done. It's gone. It's over. And I'm happy.
Okay, good. And you had some good learning out of it. And do you think that they now will always check that, whatever it is that you, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe some other stuff too. Maybe not just that section.
Maybe I'm really struggling with them because they are hiders. Like they are not full disclosures. And we've got one going right now where they didn't tell me and they didn't tell anybody several things. And the buyers are doing every kind of inspection under the sun. And so some things are coming out. And I'm like, guys, we have another contractor named Gus. And I'm like, you're going to get that it has a horrible reputation. And I'm like, you guys, everybody's going to start talking about you like you're Gus. Y'all need to stop this crap right now because hiding shit or trying to make it look pretty that's not our job. Our job is to disclose and then let people decide what they want to do, not hide it so you can get lots of money. And anyway, yeah, it's an interesting thing. And they give me a lot of business. I mean, a lot. I looked yesterday and Tony is my highest referrer, having given me 27 referrals over time. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know if I don't know how long I want to keep my name associated with these guys if they're going to do this stuff, because that's not my ball of wax.
What does Kat do again?
She has her and her husband have a business called Rob Speedy Delivery, and they deliver stuff everywhere. She has one in
She's your
Portland.
new big referrer. That would be fun.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm like, the timing, like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that could be it.
Because you like her energy a lot. Like you always say positive things about her, how she carries herself, how connected she is, how people appreciate being around her.
Yeah. That's really smart. Yeah, and she did give me a referral last week, so that was awesome.
And sorry to put this in there too. It's also, like you said, a moment to think, where do you want your reputation tied? Because she could turn on you too, because I'm gathering her reputation means a lot to her. So if you did get tagged with these guys, like kind of deceptive ways of being, and somehow that got tagged to you, I believe she would drop you pretty quick,
Yeah. So,
looking at that as not fear, but more so, who is it that you want to associate your reputation with, right?
Yeah, and I didn't mean it like a
Oh,
threat
no,
or
no, no,
fear
no,
or
I didn't take
anything.
it that way. But one of the things too that I've learned is that when people are trying to tell you who they are, listen.
And I also believe her right things for the right moments, so they might have been perfect for you and perfect for them when y'all started the relationship. And you're a different person now. They're a different person now, like
yeah.
it just may be a different season. And I'll also share one thing that's been helpful to me when you're telling this story.
Mhm.
When you originally brought this to the group, I felt a lot of worry in you, and also this, but it's not mine to own, like you were balancing both sides. I did see that. But in the end, it does seem like the guys took on a lot of this and did own it and get a lot of things accomplished on their own,
They did.
which was their
Yeah,
role. And
yeah.
then, so the lesson to me is, because I often spend a lot of time worrying in the middle,
Mhm.
and then listening to you, I'm like, oh, some of that worry wasn't warranted. Totally understand why you would feel it, but and so that's just a lesson to me, is to detach a little bit from some stuff and from the worry, not ignore it and be the ostrich, but yeah.
Sorry, I was talking to Shauna yesterday that when there was somebody in Al-Anon that used to say, everything I let go of has claw marks all over it, right? Because we're hanging on to it so tight. So like this
Right.
and letting it dissolve and let go of it. Yeah.
And it feels in the moment like the good thing to do, like the worthy cause, that, but then hindsight, I'm like, oh, that's just a lot of like angst in me that didn't need to be.
Right.
The
Yeah.
focus still needed to be there, the thoughts still, but the angst didn't.
Yeah. And Shireen, that's really good feedback because like listen to what they're telling you, right? Like they are following up and doing the right thing in the end. But to your point, they're not being the most transparent. So knowing that they're not the most transparent, the next deal you get in with them, it's about asking a bunch of questions to make sure that the transparency is there, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because there's some,
And you could remain friends with them, right? Like if you stop doing as many deals with them, they're still your friends, right?
Right.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I'm
Mhm.
curious what ended up happening with that. So Shireen or Shauna, either one, is there anything that you are facing or thoughts that you have that, because this is a coaching call, that we can help with? Chantel, how you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm listening.
I know you're not on video because of the Wi-Fi, but I just want to make sure, because I can tap in better to people's energy when I see them. I'm still tapping into your energy, but it's a different purview for me. So wanted to check
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a particular thing, but it is, in some ways, I don't think I quite realized we were so close to the wrap. So just taking some of that in, I really did enjoy the call yesterday. I thought that was a wonderful way to be together.
You should have gotten the link to, and here's my suggestion to you. If you have the space on your computer, so like the Peter Crone video that we went and got coached by him, I have it saved elsewhere too in case something happens to my laptop, but I have it saved on my desktop so
mhm.
that anytime I want to go out and re-listen to it, it's very easy to get to. Because I think there were some really uplifting moments in that yesterday. And so if you are feeling, discouraged or whatever, I think those things are good to re-listen to. I've found coaching calls with my old coach Amira on my voice memo thing because we used to, like voice memo them when we were in person and record them. And I happened upon them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to hear that message today. Like the universe is definitely tapping in here. So nothing.
Yeah, well, unrelated, but so I'm in the next group too. But it is kind of funny because I'm like, oh, but I like this group, but I know I'll get to know them better
Hmm.
and build those relationships too. But
I know, I wish there was a way to take like the first group and then add them to the second group and add them to the third.
yeah,
Just keep building. And maybe there is something, right? Maybe the universe is telling me something that I need to do like a reunion call and have people network and introduce each other,
yeah, it had to be something different because of the thought that came to my mind. We used to have 7 council members and then 1 mayor. And then we went to this at large and it's 9 plus the mayor. And now they just go on forever. Even just 2 people, just makes it last. No, we have 10 districts plus a mayor, so 11 now instead of 8. And it just so it couldn't be same format, but it could be a different format.
No, I wish Shauna and Chantel were going to England with us.
I know. Y'all can sneak it.
England.
You can have like a little adjacent place.
Just stock
Yeah.
from the.
Yeah. Well, and we have to get visas now to get into England. We
Oh,
didn't
do we? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll let you guys know about that as we get closer, but yeah. I think it's electronic like the DR if you guys remember
Oh,
how
okay.
form. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting.
So anybody have any fun vacation plans? Oh, Chantel's on like her trip. But any exciting things coming up that you want to share?
I'm excited about a little trip. It's not planned out yet, but Will, my older son in Berkeley, gets out the beginning of May, and Ben doesn't get out until mid-June. So Carl and I are gonna go. Carl's not fully on board yet, but he will be. Um, we're gonna go to Berkeley. Both my kids are really proud of the lives they're building on their own. And I can tell they want to show off to us. And not just me, they want their dad. And so we're going to go to Berkeley, visit Will for a few days. Then we'll all 3 go up to Eugene, visit Ben for a weekend. And then Will come back with us and he'll be home for about a month before he has to go back for some summer teaching or something. So just kind of a little, Chantal, I thought about you when you were talking too, because there's just been this new way of being with my kids. Like there was a time I was in San Francisco and Will was driving and Ben was sitting next to him. And my older son has great music taste. So it's always like awesome music. And we were on Route 1 and this beautiful scenery. And I was just like a observer. Like they were taking care of most of everything from the driving to picking where to eat. I still paid, but just a lot of stuff in their conversations. I'm like, oh my gosh, they are young men. And it was so just awesome to witness. And so I'm looking forward to those relationships with them and getting to know them as young men versus, oh, I'm your mom, which I am.
Yeah.
And it forever
Yeah.
changed. Like, I don't know, Shauna, you can probably associate with this. Like, and then all of a sudden they meet somebody and you're no longer the only woman in their life, right? Like, so take these moments, Shireen and Chantel, because I'll never forget wishing that I would have realized that we always went fishing for Mother's Day. Well, not always, but since we lived in Idaho. And the last Mother's Day, I didn't realize that would be the last Mother's Day, right? Because then when they had Carter, I'm no longer the mother, right? Like I am, but Carol and I are no longer the mothers, right? Like Alyssa is the mother. And so each time, like it continues this, like continuing letting go stuff in different ways. So cherish those moments. And, I think too, Chantel, about like being on the trip right now and you gave it a try and who knows, he may go back and then realize he wants to join you on the next jaunt. And he may not. Yeah. Because the mad lifestyle might not be for him, right?
That girlfriend's a bit of it, like it's hard for them to not want
And
to.
love, yep.
Yeah.
I know. I remember like Yeah, I remember having a boyfriend around that age, and that was like my world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I'm taking my whole family to Yellowstone Park this summer. I think I told you guys that.
Oh
So
yeah, so
my
good.
4-year-old grandson is already packed. He's so excited. He can like literally, he has his bag packed. And his mom says he unpacks it 1 week, he'll unpack it and he'll change his mind about the stuff he wants to take. And then he
It's adorable.
repacks it. Yeah, it's very cool to have. I told Randy, if no one else is excited, Bennett is excited enough for everyone.
That is so cute.
That's fun. So yeah,
Oh,
that
I
should be
love
a
that.
good trip.
Oh, I love that so
Yesterday,
much.
I took Carter to the park, and he's just so stinking cute.
He is.
At that stage where I'm like smiling, he's like, right. But and I didn't catch it, but he was playing the drums, and oh, and he shakes his booty, and he's so funny. But it's so hard for me to take him back because he almost started crying, and he's like, Gaga, no, I don't want to go back home. I want to go to your house. Right. And
Oh,
she still won't let him spend the night with me. And so I only get him for like 2 or 3 hours. And so I try to make it count. But anytime he comes over, he never wants to leave. And I'm just like, oh, right. Like, oh.
Getting
So I
all
said,
that one-on-one attention from you that he doesn't get
mm.
now.
yeah.
Mhm. We
And
have
so
that
And
too.
grandparents are just different than parents. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, you can just engage differently, you know.
truth in that, most
So
definitely.
Yeah, I
much
was
cooler.
fortunate my mom lived next door, so the kids could just kind of go back and forth. And so we would literally have said, oh, I've been at your house for 4 days, like
So there's a part of me that's so sad, you guys, because when I first got divorced, I was so afraid about money, which was so ridiculous, right? Because I was the one that supported our family.
mm,
And there was this house in town. It was $170,000. It was just one of those old box homes, that had like 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, the kitchen, the living room, and then the downstairs was unfinished. And it occasionally had a little bit of water leakage. Well, we don't have basements here, so I was a little nervous about that. It had a garage that had an ADU in it with a renter already in it, paying for the whole mortgage.
oh my goodness.
I chose not to buy it, and I'm still kicking myself, but it is 7 houses down from my son and daughter-in-law, right? That could have been like so great to be just
Mhm.
down this.
Okay, you told me in the DER with this group
Yeah,
that you had a house you want to buy.
I do. I'm
Is
just not
it
ready to go knock on their door and
is
say,
it that one or a different one?
no, it's a different
Okay.
one. I'm not ready to go
Mm.
knock on their door yet and say, whenever you're ready to sell, let me know, because financially, I've done great things to have a tax strategy, but when you want to borrow money to buy a
Yeah,
house,
they don't like
uh,
that.
right. And so now I'm in the process with my new accountant. And I switched to her because she does more tax strategy stuff to say in the next 5 years, like how can I position myself to be more loanable? Because my credit has always been in the
Mm.
800s. So it's not
No,
like,
it's also you're self-employed, which
yeah,
makes it harder to like, yeah. You
yeah.
could have there was a time too where like retirees, they would have millions of dollars in the bank, but they couldn't get a loan because they weren't, and I'm like, they could
And
pay.
I know I could get a loan because I mean, I'm transparent. I owe $130,000 on $1 million home, right? Like on the lake. So I know
Mm.
I could borrow on that equity and get a
Yeah.
loan. But I'm just not quite ready yet because I love this house. And so I'm not, and I would rent this house, right? Like my goal is to purchase without having to sell this house.
Mhm.
So I could rent this house and it would pay for this mortgage and the other, right? So
Yeah.
it's there. I'm just not quite ready yet. And I know how the universe works, that if I go knock on their door, it's gonna freaking happen right now, right? Like, so then Joni would say, what are you resisting? Right. And so
Mhm.
yeah. So anyway, I do. And it's this beautiful old home with this wraparound porch that in the summer they have these big hanging baskets on. And the wraparound porch, I love it because it's um has siding on the bottom half, right? And then the top half is open, and the landscaping is beautiful. They have a attached garage. And I know the woodwork is that old, like really cool woodwork. Yeah.
So it's funny, one of my other coaches, JJ, she lives in Bellingham.
Washington.
Yes, it's beautiful and it is expensive. I thought she was lying, but she's not.
Mhm.
But it's funny, she has a house that she really wants. This was years ago and it was for sale, but she couldn't afford it, at the time. But she went and peed on it. Like she marked the house, which if you knew her, she is the sweetest, like she's almost 80 years old, just sweet little person. So the fact that she went and squatted and peed on it,
Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
God. That is hilarious. That is hilarious.
Mark.
Well,
and she's like, someday it will be mine. She's like, I'm not sure if it's in this lifetime or another one, but
no. I will say I'm excited. I have been trying to get to this Abbey in Valermo, California for over 10 years now. When I moved here, I was signed up for this class that you took a trip to the Abbey, and I canceled the class not knowing what my new job and stuff, if I'd be able to get away, which was a blessing because the day I would have flown out was the day that my boss was killed. And so I wouldn't have been able to go. And and then back in 2022, I think it was, or 20, I don't remember, a couple years ago, I had paid for it, was ready to go. I taught my class at Gonzaga. It was my birthday. I came back and skied all day. Had a day in between and then was supposed to fly out. And that's when I got COVID. And so I have been trying to get to this. And then when all those freaking fires happened, I'm like, okay, God, am I just not supposed to go to this Abbey? Like, it's literally on the other side of the mountain where this Abbey is. And so I'm leaving on the 2nd of April and going to go spend some time. My mentor called and said, would you come this time? And I'm like, yeah, I've been trying. So it's a lot of silence. We do Vespers. Like the only thing I have a little concern about is, oh, I'm going to have to set my alarm and get up really early because Vespers start at 6 and I have to shower every day. That's just that's a non-negotiable. That's like coffee for me. Like I've already showered. My hair was in a shower cat. Like that's just a thing for me. And so I'm really excited about that. And then I get to spend my birthday with my sister and niece and brother-in-law.
that's
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Yeah. Chantel, where are you headed next?
We're headed to to Phoenix to hang out with my sister,
Nice.
and then likely Sedona for a little bit.
Oh, I love Sedona.
Uh,
I've
yeah,
never,
not 100% sure.
have you
How
been
long
to
are you
Sedona
staying
before?
in each place? Sorry.
It kind of just depends on what we're feeling like. Like we had a couple places that we were going to meet up with people, so we had specific dates, but otherwise it just kind of depends if we really like a place. Right now, anyways, it's been like a few days. But we could stay longer if we wanted to. Like once we get to Phoenix and we see my sister for their spring break, then we will have like a lot of flexibility. We don't need to be anywhere for anything specific.
Have you been to Sedona before, Chantel?
Yeah, one time John and we actually have a funny hiking story where we got caught on top of a mountain. Well, it turned out to be funny. Um it could have been another kind of ending. But yeah, we ended up like stuck on top of a mountain looking for the vortex, and we had no water and it was full sun and we were unsure how to get down, no cell receptivity. Uh so that was fun. So we have some memories of Sedona. We
Okay. I was going to say, if you go into the canyon, there's all sorts of vortexes in that. And
Yeah.
yeah, touch the juniper trees because even though I'm allergic to juniper, I did. And I felt this like energy go up my arms. It was really cool.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll have to try again in
Yeah,
in a different way this time.
there you go. Okay, lady,
Oh,
it has
yeah, thank you.
been a pleasure, and you'll get the link for the call. Sarah will forward it to you, and then I will see you next Tuesday for our last
And then,
call.
okay. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
not
April 1st,
logging what is actually happening, but okay. So next Tuesday.
April 1st is the Tuesday after that. So yeah.
All
April 1st.
right.
Okay.
Amazing.
Alrighty.
April Fool.
Have a good
Have a
week.
good one, everyone.
Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.